Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuning in from. My name is Jerron Wallach Spiller, speaker and coach, and I want to welcome you to Leading in the Moment with Geronda. And I appreciate you all joining. And I know that these happen every Wednesday, 12 o'clock p.m. Pacific time. And the next time that I will be hosting this, you will actually be tuning in, or I will be tuning in actually, in a completely different time zone. So if you've been following me for some time, you know that I bought a house in Maine. I'm currently in Seattle, Washington. So I'm actually going to be making the drive cross country um, this week, hopefully this weekend actually. And I'm going to be driving with my wife, one dog, and three cats in the car. So this is going to be a very interesting adventure. When I drove to Seattle from Connecticut, we just had two cats. And so, as you can see, our family grew, and we are going to have an adventure, is the way to say it, for our drive cross country. But I'm very excited. I've been looking forward to this moment for such a long time. So, what I will say too is that with that in mind, there was going to be a leading in the moment with Geronda for the 31st of May, but I'm actually going to be getting settled in my new place. I want to take some time to be present with my partner and get everything ready. So the next leading in the moment is going to happen on June 14th instead. Still same time, 12 o'clock PST. I will be in Eastern Standard Time, so 3 o'clock um, Eastern Standard Time. But we'll still keep this going and still keep this rolling in June when I come back. So looking forward to having you there for that. Um, Also, if you are tuning in live, please put live in the chat. I just want to know that you're here live with me during this segment. And if you are watching the replay, totally cool. I would love for you to comment on the event with just your experience joining this and just how that's been for you. Also, if you have been following me for some time, you know that I like to start with a question before I just dive into the topic. So, the question I want to start off with is, if someone asked you to teach them how to do something, anything, what would you teach them? And I love this question because it kind of brings you back to either a skill that you're really, really good at, your strength that you want to teach them, or something that maybe you haven't done for a while, but you still remember and you want to teach them about it. For me, in my case, I would love to teach someone how to play the trumpet. I'm a classical trumpet player, for some of you who don't know. And as a classical trumpet player, it can be hard to learn how to play the trumpet, especially if you've never played it, touched it, did anything with it before. So I would love to start the basics of how to get a note out, and then go a little bit deeper into, well, now we'll play a scale, or we'll play a note, or we'll, and then eventually get into a song. But I would love to teach someone the basics of how to play a trumpet, and it's such a great moment. I know I'm gonna like really get deep in this because I very much love the trumpet and jazz music as well. But I'm a classical player. But when you see someone accomplish something that you've taught them, it's such a great feeling. So I'd love to just, even if you make the worst sound, hear that you felt you got value from me teaching you how to play the trumpet. So I'd love to have you put in the comments what you would teach somebody if it was anything, whatever that would be, and your reason why. So sweet, awesome. So the topic that we're going to be talking about today is navigating difficult times as a leader. And navigating difficult times can look like different things. That could be things that are injustices in the world. It could be challenging times for a direct report. Maybe it's a loss. Maybe it's an illness. But how do you navigate that as a leader in a way where you're not trying to be too intrusive, but you want to be supportive to those that are experiencing these challenging times? And where I want to start really are the things that are happening around the world, but particularly in the United States, around a lot of legislation for anti trans bills or abortion or other topics out there that may be impacting people in your organization. And maybe there isn't a space right now for folks to feel like they can go and talk about things that are happening, or even just voice that they're struggling because of some things that might impact them individually based on their identity. So you might have trans employees, or you might have someone who is looking to get an abortion. And I'm not saying to ask others to share full in-depth experiences on what's happening with them personally, but if they want to and they choose to, allowing them to have that space to do that. So, a couple of things that I'll say in terms of navigating challenging times as a leader is you want to first lead by example and call out some of the things that are happening. Now, I'm not saying get deep into your political views or start controversy or make it a space where people won't feel comfortable speaking out, but just acknowledge that there are challenges and trying times that we're in across the world. And should anybody need support or have a space where they can talk about it, um, you can speak to your manager. You can open a space for leaders to hear different perspectives, and just offering that there is a space where people can share information that will be kept confidential. So this could look like um, allowing somebody, maybe it's your HR department or somebody in the HR department, if you have a DEI person at your company or somebody who manages diversity, equity, and inclusion, giving that name um, to folks to say you can schedule a one-on-one time to discuss this. If you need anything, whether it's flexibility in your schedule or you feel like you need to take some time off, use your time off. But also maybe you need to speak to your manager about this, whomever you might be comfortable, but offer the option for folks to be able to reach out to an individual or even go to their manager and have this discussion. Now, somebody might come to you and they might say, well, I don't feel comfortable going to my manager to talk about these types of things. Or I don't feel comfortable going to my manager and letting them know that I'm struggling. Because maybe something's happened in the past where it was a negative experience, or maybe they just don't know how it's going to be perceived, and potentially they might be retaliated against. So there might need to be a reminder as well in terms of retaliation, how that's managed at your organization. And just be transparent and open. You might also have to be pretty vulnerable because maybe it's impacting you as a leader. So self care for yourself is important too. But when it comes to communication, it's being clear and honest with how you're navigating these times. So it could look like we are going to give regular updates on what we're hearing. One of the biggest things we're seeing out there, this has been happening for quite some time now. There's a lot of layoffs still happening. I know that SVP Bank, when that collapsed, that caused so much anxiety, a lot of layoffs, a lot of restructuring, a lot of um, letting go of different staff members and different departments and different leaders. So being open about the process and the updates and addressing any concerns that anybody has. Nothing's worse than getting surprised that and also it is super, what's the word I'm looking for? It's very unempathetic or non-empathetic to get an email that says you no longer have a job and you're surprised by it. Really show updates, give updates. The more you communicate and you over communicate, I feel like the better versus not communicating at all, or not, or maybe just putting one thing out there and allowing people to address concerns, to come to you and say, I'm really nervous. I don't know what's going to happen. How should I be preparing? I know sometimes you can't definitively say to somebody your job's at jeopardy, but support them in preparing for things. Maybe offering a space where you might say, well, we're going to hold meetings with everybody from your department, on this day at this time. But share any concerns that you might have. The I find that the more you do that when it's not a surprise, the better that somebody might experience something. I say might because emotions do come into play when you go through layoffs, or emotions do come into play if somebody needs to go on leave or experiencing um, a death in the family or a loss of some kind. so that it still follows where you want to be able to give updates on processes as frequent as possible. So if somebody is going to go on leave, or somebody um it needs some flexibility in their schedule, say, hey, we've spoken to this is how insurance is going to be updated, this is how your pay is going to change, this is who you can contact if you have any questions, and just really give an update. Because I know what a lot of times we just want to give an overview of the process of what's going to happen, or we think that there is an understanding of what the process looks like, but the more that you clearly communicate this out, the better. Also, recognizing that you're not going to know how to handle every single situation, and that is okay. Sometimes you just need to hold space. Sometimes you just need to have a forum for there to be discussion. I don't expect someone who's not somebody. I'm not. I don't expect, for example, an able-bodied person to be able to relate to somebody who has a disability and is not able-bodied. But having empathy and letting them have a space where they can share their concerns and share their experiences, and you show that you are understanding of their experience, that is very impactful in itself. We are going to also make mistakes. We might say the wrong thing. We may not offer the right advice. That's why having that open communication and having and pairing with someone that might be able to support you in talking through how you navigate a certain situation is so critical and important. So those are some examples so far. And what I like to do in just the middle of these is to just give a little break, give a little check in. Again, if you are with me and you are live, put live in the chat. If you're watching the replay, totally cool. When you get a chance, even put replay in the chat and answer the questions, and give other things that you might do that maybe I'm not sharing in the context of this talk. Um, I'd also like to offer my email address for anybody who would like to reach out to me for any further questions around this topic as well. So, other things that you can do is leverage your support network. There the amount of times that I've gone to LinkedIn or to different groups I'm a part of, or different networking support groups I'm a part of, and said, this is something I'm facing. I This is how I'm going to address it. Are there any concerns or any feedback or any suggestions for which you think I should do this differently? That gives so much confidence and ease in the process. And and I even ask people who I share the process with, or who I am giving space to give feedback on how I've approached it. Because I'm not going to know if I'm doing it right without feedback. So being open to feedback has been significant in navigating challenging times as well. And when I said that we are going to make mistakes, we have to be open to feedback and growth and learning. Um, Learning experiences are going to come from challenging times. We may not navigate things well. And it is unfortunate sometimes, especially if we're not prepared for things like layoffs, and how we communicate, or even things that involve change management and we don't communicate. But this gives us an opportunity to um, have those learning experience, develop new skill sets, adjust for if something were to happen again, having a plan in place for things that might happen again. Another thing that is really really helpful to be prepared with is an emergency response plan. For many companies that are in locations where you don't experience hurricanes or tornadoes or emergency responses, we tend to neglect that this could potentially happen. And in a remote environment, you may not be able to relocate your entire office, or do something that you would normally do when you're in person. But you might have colleagues or employees or staff that are in locations that may be impacted. How do you support those employees? Do you have monetary um, incentives that you can offer to get them back on their feet? Do you support them in relocating to another location until things can get back into a better place? Do you offer volunteer opportunity where you can support folks who may want to go and help different employees or help in a certain country, and volunteer to support in aid that may be needed? So it's really thinking about, what are the things I can plan for? How best can I plan for them? If I can't plan for them, how do I want to navigate this conversation? So always leading with empathy, putting it out to others to give their ideas and suggestions. Having that emergency response plan is so critical. It's also very helpful even having policies and plans to support and things like political and injustice conversations, because you just don't know how those are going to go. There might be people who are impacted by certain laws or certain injustices, and there may be people with other views. That's okay. How do you navigate those differences in conversations? Because the goal really is to get to a common ground so that everyone feels that their opinions can be heard. So, those are some ways I really think are going to be helpful in navigating challenging times, whatever that challenging time means to you. And whatever that challenging time is, how you're going to plan for it and how you're going to navigate it will be different. But what's really most important is leading by example of how you would want this to be supported, being calm, being composed, inspiring your team to stay focused and motivated, really having that open communication and over communicating throughout the process so folks know what's going to be happening. There's no surprises in things, especially like layoffs. Also focusing on your own self-care, because it's going to take a lot of your time, a lot of your empathy, your energy to support and hold space for a lot of different people. Especially if you're a very large company, you might have different vice presidents or managers of departments who might come to you with challenges and may need support from you. As if you're at the executive level, or if you are the VP or manager of a certain department, you're going to have a lot of people who might be coming to you to talk about really challenging things that you may not have been exposed to before. And so focusing on your self-care as well. Something I didn't mention too is celebrating the little wins and the milestones for navigating these types of things, acknowledging and recognizing the different achievements that you've made as you're navigating these, and offering a shared vision, inspiring a shared vision for communicating, having your team be around, getting the feedback, fostering, certain directions that you want to go. Um, so having that in place will be super helpful for you to start planning and how you want to address these types of things. And also reach out to your network. You don't have to do this alone. You can reach out to people who might have gone through this before. Maybe they haven't gone through this before and they've started planning, and you maybe want to just brainstorm and bounce different ideas off of one another. But again, the biggest thing is you don't want there to be a lack of empathy and a big surprise for how something was going to be navigated. So that is my advice to you on navigating difficult times. This is not going to be the only time that we navigate these types of conversations. So again, here is my email address. If you want to reach out to get support for a situation maybe that you're going through where you have to navigate a challenging time. And I want to thank you so much for joining. This is Leading in the Moment with Geronda. Again, I'm going to be moving cross country with one dog and three cats. So wish me luck driving from Seattle to Maine, which is where I'm going to be moving to. I appreciate you joining. And again, we're skipping the next one because I do want to be present for the people that I love, and because I'm moving closer to family. And so the next Leading in the Moment will take place on June 14th. With that, I hope you have a really great day. Go out there and do your best, as you always will. Make mistakes, learn from them, grow as an individual. And with that, I say peace.